Look at your bank account. Not later, right now, in your head. If that number makes your chest tighten a little, I need you to hear this before we go one word further. It's not because you're bad with money. It's not because you don't work hard enough. Most of us come from people who worked themselves to the bone their entire lives and still had nothing to leave behind. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and still living paycheck to paycheck, stick with me, because today I'm going to show you why that keeps happening. Not in a vague, the system is unfair way, but in a specific math and history way. And then I'm going to hand you the exact plan to break it, starting with your very next paycheck. I'm Jada, and this is Jada Invests. If you're serious about turning your family into the generation that changes everything, subscribe right now, because I'm not here to make you feel good for 12 minutes. I'm here to make you rich for the next 50 years. Let's get into it. Every family has a money story that gets repeated without anyone ever questioning it. Maybe yours sounds like, we've just never been money people. Maybe it's, nobody in our family has ever owned property. Maybe it's simply the tired quiet that shows up whenever bills get mentioned at the table. I want you to notice that story today, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand it isn't actually about who you are. It's about what happened to the people who raised you and their parents before that. And once you can name the cause, you can finally start treating it instead of just living with the symptoms. There isn't one reason, there are four. And once you see all four laid out together, you'll understand why working harder alone was never going to fix this. Reason 1. We were locked out of the wealth-building machine. Here's a number that should make you angry. The typical white family in this country holds somewhere around 6 to 8 times the net worth of the typical black family. Not income, wealth. Assets minus debt. And that gap didn't happen because one group worked harder than the other for 200 years straight. It happened because the main engine of American wealth building, real estate, was closed to us on purpose. In the 1930s, government maps literally outlined black neighborhoods in red ink and labeled them too risky for home loans. That's where the word redlining comes from. It wasn't a metaphor. It was policy. After World War II, the GI Bill handed millions of white veterans low-cost mortgages and college tuition that built the American middle class. And black veterans who fought in the same war were denied those same benefits through local loopholes almost everywhere they tried to use them. And before any of that, in 1921, a thriving black district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so prosperous people called it Black Wall Street, was burned to the ground in less than a day. So when you hear that homeownership among black families still sits at less than half, while it's closer to 3 out of every 4 white families, that's not a coincidence, and it's not a discipline problem. Homes are how most American families store and pass down wealth. A house bought in 1975 isn't just a house today. It's decades of appreciation, equity that could fund a business, co-sign a grandchild's first mortgage, or cover a health emergency without touching a retirement account. If your family was kept out of that system for a century, they didn't just miss a few good years in the housing market. They missed the entire foundation everybody else has been quietly standing on this whole time, and every generation after them started the race several blocks behind the starting line without ever being told the race had already begun. Reason 2. We were sold debt instead of ownership. Here's the second trap, and this one is still running today. When traditional banks wouldn't serve our neighborhoods, other businesses moved in to fill the gap. Check cashing stores, payday lenders, rent-to-own furniture shops, buy now, pay later apps, subprime car lots. These businesses don't build your wealth, they extract it. A payday loan can carry an effective annual interest rate north of 300%. Rent-to-own furniture can cost 2 to 3 times the retail price by the time you technically own it. None of that is your fault for using what's available to you. When the nearest bank branch is 30 minutes away and the check cashing spot is on the corner, of course people use the corner spot. That's not a character flaw, that's geography and desperation doing exactly what they were designed to do. But it is a trap you have to consciously walk yourself out of, because every dollar that goes to a 300% loan is a dollar that will never sit in an index fund, quietly doubling for you instead. Two families can earn the identical income for 20 straight years, and if one of them is financing furniture and cars at triple the sticker price, while the other is buying in cash and investing the difference, they will not retire anywhere close to the same place. The income was equal, the outcome was not. That gap is what we're here to close. Reason 3. Nobody taught us the language. Money has a vocabulary: compound interest, amortization, tax-advantaged accounts, asset allocation. If your parents never had access to homeownership, investing, or a financial advisor, they couldn't hand that vocabulary down to you, because you cannot teach what you were never taught. This isn't a knock on our parents. Most of them were financial geniuses at survival, stretching a check further than it had any business going, keeping a family fed and clothed and housed against real odds, making a holiday dinner happen out of nothing every single year. That is a real skill, and it deserves real respect. But survival skills and wealth-building skills are two completely different toolkits. One is about stretching what little you have today. The other is about growing what you have into something bigger tomorrow. We inherited the first toolkit in full. We're going to build the second one ourselves, starting today, so our kids inherit both. Reason 4. We protect the funeral, not the future. This one doesn't get talked about enough. Walk into almost any Black household in America and ask, "Do you have life insurance?" And the answer is often yes. Ask, "Do you have a will, a beneficiary plan, or any estate plan at all?" And the answer is usually no. Studies on estate planning consistently show Black families are far less likely than white families to have a will in place. Here's why that matters more than almost anything else on this list. Without a will, when someone passes, their house or land often becomes what's called heirs property, owned jointly by every surviving relative, with no single person legally able to sell, borrow against, repair, or improve it. Families have lost land this way for generations, not because they didn't own anything, but because the ownership was never made legally clean enough to protect. We plan beautifully for the funeral. We almost never plan for what happens to the assets after it. Land gets tied up in court for years. Siblings fall out over a house nobody can legally sell. A property that should have funded 3 grandchildren's educations instead sits vacant, taxed, and slowly lost. That has to change in this generation, and it's one of the cheapest, fastest fixes on this entire list. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Everything I just told you is true, documented, and still shaping outcomes today. But I am not telling you this so you have a reason to stay stuck. I'm telling you this so you stop blaming yourself for a hole you didn't dig. The wealth gap was built by policy. It will not be closed by policy alone, and definitely not on our timeline. It closes household by household, the same way it was built, one generation at a time, except this time we're building instead of being blocked. Knowing the history doesn't excuse us from doing the work. It just means we finally understand why the work has felt so much heavier for us than it ever needed to. And honestly, understanding that is a relief in itself. You are not behind because you're lazy. You are not broke because you keep making bad choices. You are catching up on a race that started without you. And the moment you know that, you can stop wasting energy on shame and put every ounce of it into the plan instead. So here's the plan. 7 moves. Do them in order. Don't skip ahead because a later step feels more exciting. The order is the strategy. Move 1. Break the silence in your house. This costs $0 and it's the one people skip. Talk about money at your dinner table. Tell your kids what things cost. Tell your partner the real numbers, not the comfortable ones. Generational wealth doesn't start with a stock purchase. It starts with a family that isn't afraid to say the word budget out loud, that lets a 12-year-old sit in on the conversation about why they can't get the newest shoes this month, that treats money like weather instead of a secret, something you talk about openly so everyone knows how to prepare for it. Move 2. Build a real buffer. Save $1,000 untouched for emergencies only, not a sale, not a trip, not a good deal. This is the wall between you and predatory debt the next time your car breaks down or your hours get cut. Once you hit $1,000, keep going until you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. This single fund is what keeps steps 3 through 7 from collapsing every time life throws a curveball. Without it, one flat tire or one missed shift sends you straight back to the corner store loan we just talked about. With it, that same emergency is just an inconvenience instead of a setback that costs you years. Move 3. Get out from under debt that's working against you. Any debt charging you more than roughly 8% interest, credit cards averaging over 20%, payday loans, high-rate personal loans, has to go first. You cannot invest your way out of a 22% interest rate. Paying that debt off is the same as earning a guaranteed 22% return, and no stock market can promise you that. Attack the highest rate debt first if you want to save the most money mathematically, or attack the smallest balance first if you need quick wins to stay motivated emotionally. Either works, and neither is wrong. Consistency is what matters, not the method. What matters is that every dollar you're not sending to a lender is a dollar that can finally start working for you instead of against you. Move 4. Take every dollar your employer is offering you. If your job offers a retirement match and you're not contributing enough to get all of it, you are walking past free money every single payday. If they match 50 cents for every dollar you put in up to 5% of your pay, that's an instant 50% return before the market does anything at all. Log into your HR portal this week and check your match. Most people have never actually looked, which means most people are quietly turning down a raise their employer already offered them. Move 5. Put your money where it can multiply. Open a retirement account, a 401k if it's offered, an IRA if it's not, and automate a monthly contribution into a low-cost, diversified index fund. Historically, the broad U.S. stock market has returned roughly 10% a year on average over long stretches of time. That number means very little in year 1. It means everything by year 20, because the growth stacks on top of itself instead of just adding up. The families who build real wealth aren't picking hot stocks or timing the market. They're just never missing a month, buying a little more when prices drop and a little more when prices rise, and letting decades do what willpower alone never could. Move 6. Protect what you're building. This is the step most personal finance advice skips, and it's exactly why I put it here. Get term life insurance if anyone depends on your income. It's inexpensive when you're young and healthy, and it keeps one tragedy from erasing everything your family built. Then write a will. You can start with a simple online legal service for a fraction of what an attorney costs. Name a beneficiary on every account you own. This single afternoon of paperwork is what keeps your family's next generation from losing a home to heirs' property instead of inheriting it clean and clear. It is, dollar for dollar, one of the highest leverage moves on this entire list, and almost nobody does it. Move 7. Hand it down on purpose. If you have kids, nieces, nephews, or a little cousin who looks up to you, open a custodial brokerage account in their name and put something in it, even if it's small. Let them watch it grow. Talk to them about it like it's normal, because it should be. The families that break generational poverty don't just build wealth once. They build the habit of talking about wealth so the next generation never has to start from the same silence we started from. Imagine a 16-year-old who's been watching an account grow since before they could drive. That's not a kid you have to convince to care about money later. That's a kid who's already living the lesson. Here's what I want you to sit with. Every dollar you move out of a payday loan and into an index fund is a small act of rebellion against a system that was never built with us in mind. Every will you write is protecting land and money your grandmother never got the paperwork to protect. Every conversation you have with your kids about money is a lesson your parents probably never got to have with theirs. We didn't create this gap, but we are the generation with the information, the tools, and the access to finally close it, not by waiting on anyone, but by building, quietly and consistently, until the numbers simply can't be ignored anymore. So before you close this video, I want you to do 3 things. 1. Figure out which of the 7 moves you're actually on right now. Be honest with yourself. 2. Take one real action today. Check your employer match, open an account, or start that will. It takes less time than this video did. 3. Send this to the one person in your life nobody is talking to about money. A cousin, a little sibling, A friend who's grinding hard but going nowhere financially. This information doesn't help anyone sitting quietly in your saved videos. If this hit you, subscribe to Jada Invests. I'm building this channel to be the financial education our families never got. Real numbers, real history, real steps, no fluff. New videos drop every week, and the next one might be the exact push someone in your family needs. I'll see you in the next one.